Why evaluate? Does it have any real purpose? It's one person or sometimes several people's opinion. So why does it matter? Why do we even do the evaluation? Yes, they do matter. And even though it's one person or several persons' opinion, opinions matter. Because if one person or two people or three people are seeing something, chances are everyone else is too. And if we don't get evaluated, we can't grow and we can't improve. Because oftentimes when we look at ourselves a little biased. We don't always see where we need improvement. And that's where evaluations come in. And if you think about it, we do evaluations every day of our lives, but they're not called evaluations. Look at your personal and professional relationships. Look at social media. If you want to become a public speaker and you want to get paid for it, people have to like you and they have to follow you on social media. When you do webinars, when you do Facebook Live. So they have to be able to make that connection and engage with you, which means that they're forming their own opinion of you and they are evaluating whether or not you're worth following and listening to. If you can't get them to like you, then as a public speaker, you don't have a chance of getting paid. So that's another reason why why evaluations are important. So what's in it for me, or I should say, what's in it for you? As the evaluator, what's in it for you? As the evaluator, you gain self-confidence each and every time you evaluate. Because as the evaluator, you own the evaluation. Yes, it's your opinion, it's your perspective, but it's what you saw, what you heard, and what you felt. And some of you may say, what you felt, that's subjective. Well, I had a mentor who I did some work with, and he was always to the point of, I don't care how you're feeling, I need the facts. Well, facts are important, but when we're evaluating, feelings are important because we have to know what was being said, what was being heard, and how we felt about it. Did we like it or did we not like about it? So any person can do an evaluation. And I know that Toastmasters had a rule, I don't know if they still do, where you had to give 6 speeches in order to evaluate. I don't believe that. Any person could evaluate, even if it's the first time you're at a Toastmasters meeting, as long as you could follow the 3 steps. This is what I saw. This is what I heard, and this is what I felt. And we'll get into that a little bit more. What's in it for the speaker? Well, for the speaker, I think the most important thing is that the speaker gets a different perspective of how they appear and how they speak and what they spoke about. I know myself, I'm biased. I think I do a good job with things and I like my material. But if I want to appeal to a large crowd, and I do down the road want to get paid for public speaking, I have to be able to have my material appeal to a lot of people. So therefore, when a speech is given, I have to know, what is the reaction to that speech? Did people like it? Were people interested? Or did they sleep through it? And that's important to get someone else's or a group or several people's perspectives on your speaking. So that's what's in it for you, the speaker. What's in it for us, the audience? Well, we get to learn something new. We get to take home some valuable nuggets. Maybe some things we already know, but maybe there are things that we don't know. And this gives us a chance as the audience to try out even something that we weren't aware of the next time we go to give a speech or we give an evaluation. And now to clarify and go a little bit deeper. What about the evaluator? I already said it's what you saw, what you heard, and what you felt. And why are those 3 things so important? It's important because what did you see? How was the screen presence? If it's an online club, were you able to clearly see the speaker? Was the speaker off? Were they too high? Or were they just right? Was it the middle of the night and their attire was such that you wouldn't go out in public? Or they have their bedclothes on with the covers over their head and they're trying to give a speech? Or are they dressed appropriately? And in an online club, we usually only see up to the shoulders. But in a brick and mortar club, we see the whole person. So it's important to see how they are dressed. What is their attire? Are they professional looking? Are they appropriate? So that is important. Also, hand gestures, facial gestures, and also the eye contact. And the eye contact is very important because you have to be able to engage people. And if you could see them, you could engage with them. So what I suggest people do when they're doing an evaluation is, if it's a brick and mortar club, look around the room. Are people texting? Are they talking on their phone? Are they sitting there like that, not interested? The gallery view with the online club. Are people engaging in that speech? Or are people doing other things? Are they shutting off their video? Perhaps they're leaving, or perhaps they need to shut it off. But if somebody has a video shut off for your entire speech and they didn't say ahead of time that they need to have their video off, then that's important for the evaluator to be aware of and mention. So that's what you saw, what you heard. The most important thing with what you heard is, did the speaker clearly get their message across? Every speech, regardless of what it is, whether it's done on aerodynamics, garage parking, or health, or anything about spirituality and consciousness, we all have a message to give, and that's the purpose of any speech, whether it be at Toastmasters, whether it be speaking in public, whether it be speaking to your workplace. And it's one message. Often we forget that, and we try to give 100 messages. And the brain can only do one thing at a time. So if we're trying to give people 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 messages, none of it is getting through to them. So it's one message, and that's important for the evaluator. Did the speaker get that message across? The second thing is, was the speaker able to engage the audience? Connect is a little bit different. Connect is more on a deeper level. But engaging is, was the speaker interesting? Did you like what they said, even though you may not know it? Maybe they're an engineer and they're giving a speech on NASA and space engineering. Well, you may know nothing about it, but was the speaker interesting? Did the speaker leave you with, yes, I'd like to listen to that speaker again, and perhaps learn more about that subject? Or, no, I don't think I'm the NASA space engineering type, but I thought the speaker was engaging and I would like to hear more from that speaker. So that is important. Also, how clearly the person spoke. Were you able to understand them? A brick and mortar club, I recommend that evaluators sit in the back of the room. Does the voice project, or were you not able to hear the speaker? On an online club, what about the microphone? Were you able to hear? Were there a lot of distractions in the back? Was it confusing to you? Were the words you heard, did the speech flow, or were you confused? Did you lose track, or did the speaker lose track of what was going on after the introduction and the ending? All these things are important, and these are all vital to the evaluation process. And it is vital that anybody could be the one that does the evaluation. And the last point is about feeling. And you may say, I'm not the touchy-feely type. What about feelings? I like the facts. Well, I have to tell you that feelings are important because, again, it's engaging and it's making that engagement with the speech. A speech should give you a good feeling, even if it's a sad speech, even if it's about a tragedy. It shouldn't bring you down so low that you're crying or you can't function at the end of the speaker's speech. It always has to be bring the audience up, excite them, then bring them back down. At the end, leave them either neutral or leave them excited, wanting more. So that's where the feelings come in. How did you feel? I remember at my brick and mortar club, we had somebody that gave an icebreaker, and he talked about wanting to get revenge on everybody who did him wrong throughout his life. Well, how do you think the audience felt about that speech? We were terrified. That's, to me, was a terrifying speech, and it was something that had to be dealt with very gingerly in the evaluation, but it still had to be dealt with. So feelings are important. How are you feeling? Let's now delve into more with the speaker. What is the speaker's responsibility? It's not only to give a speech. The speaker's responsibility is to talk to the evaluator either via electronic or in person ahead of time. And that's where the clubs, the VP of Eds, and the presidents come in to make sure roles are filled. I know sometimes it happens that you don't have filled roles, but an evaluator can only do their job if they know what the speaker is speaking about, having that evaluation form, and talking to the speaker. How does the speaker want to be evaluated? It's your speech. You have the right to say, I want you to evaluate me with everything. Give me the good, the bad, the ugly. I could take it. Or you may say, I don't want that. I want you to be gentle with me. I want you to talk about my good points, mention some things, but then in your written evaluation, we can go into it in more detail. So that is the speaker's responsibility, is what kind of evaluation do you want? Because after all, it is your speech, and you have the right to be evaluated in the way that you want to be evaluated. One more thing with that, if the speaker, we call it constructive criticism. I like what Magda says, which is feed forward, that we're trying to improve. But sometimes you get people that for whatever reasons are more sensitive. And in that case, I saw a TEDx presentation that talked about, I liked what you did. What if you did this? So instead of what would be termed as criticism, what you're saying is, Berthe, I like that you spoke clearly. What if you paused after the humorous parts of your speech to give people a chance to laugh? So that's a way to reframe, and that may be something that you want to look into. So that is the responsibility of the speaker. So if the evaluator follows their part and the speaker follows their part, you have a wonderful evaluation, and there's no need to ever fear an evaluation. Written evaluations are very important, and it should be thorough. So when someone gets a written evaluation, it should really detail what is being said. One last point that I would like to make is, suppose that somebody does not meet the speech requirements. What do? It's best dealt with in writing. So I have to say that I was ignorant at one point, and I told somebody that they didn't meet the requirements. Well, not only did they try to get me thrown out of Toastmasters International, they landed up quitting the club, which wasn't right. It really was my mistake. It should have been done on a more personal level. So what I would say to people and recommend is that if you really have a concern about something in that speech, I would contact the evaluator either after the meeting, put it in the private chat, talk about it, and then take it from there. So that this way the evaluation process is clean, it's a good evaluation process, and there's no need to fear anything. And yes, I'm hoping by now that you all say, yes, evaluations are valuable. We do need them, and we like doing evaluations, and we enjoy being evaluated. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster. Thank you so much.